Hello, and welcome to this leadership module. My name is Andres, and I will be accompanying you in the next couple of lectures, covering some of the main topics of this module. This is a very interesting and possibly a little bit different module than what you've done so far, so I hope you very much enjoy it. In this session, what I would like to do is we'll have your lecturer explain the structure and learning objectives of the module that you're currently taking. And then we'll look at some of the definitions and aspects of leadership to finally end up with creating a personal vision for your MSc or educational program this year. So, at this moment, your lecturer will discuss your structure and learning objectives for the module. When he's done, come back. So, when we do leadership, it's important to realize that there are some house rules that will apply. These house rules are meant to ensure that your participation, your levels of comfort, your levels of challenge are all met in a place where you can learn and grow as the leader that you already are. So the first rule of the house rules of leadership is safe space and confidentiality. What happens in your room, in this room of leadership, what happens when you're discussing with your colleagues, what happens when you're having coaching sessions, what happens when you're interacting in leadership topics is confidential. It stays in this room if it happens in this room. This is in order to ensure that there's a safe space for you to feel comfortable in which you can open up and discuss some of the aspects that might not be that common. Your weaknesses, your desires to grow, your visions. So remember, when you're doing leadership, you're in a safe space and you're being confidential. Second, because of this, we also want you to encourage and respect others, as others will probably have different visions of what leadership might be or how the future should look like. In these discussions, because we're being open, it's important for you to respect and encourage others, because together, that will make it easier for us to grow and interact. There will be a lot of interactive experiences in this module. And so if you hear your lecturer say one class, one voice, that means come back and let's discuss together so that we can all learn and share on the same topic. Like in anything in life, but also particularly for leadership, the more you invest, the more you receive. So there will be spaces in this module where you will probably feel uncomfortable and you'll want to withhold. You'll want to step back. I encourage you not to. I encourage you to recognize those moments and remember this. The more you invest in these moments, the more you will receive in the module and later on. The more challenges you're willing to take during these modules, the more ready you'll be to take them outside of it. So remember, when you come to class, the more you invest, the more you will receive. Considering this, remember that time is precious. So make sure that you're here on time, but I also mean that for the activities that we will do. There's a lot of breakaway activities that will take somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes, if not more. Make sure you stick to that schedule, because we're going to have to cover a lot of things in order to prepare your leadership skills. As such, and this is the last one that I propose for you, is be here. If you already made the effort to come to class, to look at this video, to interact, put away your phone, put away your other work, put away your concerns, put away all that stuff outside of the door, and be here. Be here to learn. Are there any other house rules that you would like to add? Take a moment to discuss among yourselves and then come back. So, my first leadership challenge for you is as follows. What do you see here? Take some time and discuss. Now, depending on what you have found, I would like to highlight the following. Obviously, you see the ducklings, and there's 3 of them that are sitting on what I'll call the bench, and one of them who has jumped into the water. Now, what has that one that jumped into the water done? He has taken a leap, or she has taken a leap, into learning how to swim, into the unknown, into the great water that awaits for them there. And that is what this leadership module is also about, and what your leadership development requires. It requires you to jump into the water. It requires you to forget about the bench and jump in, because that's the place where we will learn. As my coach once said, leadership is a contact sport. So get out there and get in contact. The only way you're going to improve your leadership skills is by jumping in the water. So remember this little duckling. First time in the water. This is what I want you to do. If you have a deck of leadership cards that your lecturer will provide, use these. If not, then use your creativity and imagination for the following exercise. The first thing I want you to do is select the top 3 words, pictures, or sentences that best represent what leadership means to you. Take 10 minutes and come back. Now that you've found your top 3, the next step is for you to work on them with your group, with the people that you're sitting with your pair, and discuss them. Discuss them and decide amongst your group which ones are your top 5 words, pictures, or sentences that represent leadership. Take 20 minutes and come back. And finally, now that all groups have discussed these, share them and see if there's overlaps or gaps. My guess is that you will have found that there are some common aspects of leadership and some that were somewhat different. Take time to discuss them and then come back for the next one. So, was I right? Was everything aligned in the leadership definition as you expected, or were there different views? Because there were likely different views, that's why the next stage that we're going to discuss is a working definition. That is how we define leadership for this module. We define leadership as the skills and capacity a person has to influence people's behavior, including their own, towards contributing to the following outcomes. Now, before I go into the outcomes, I want to highlight that this is about influence. Not about command, necessarily, not about favors, necessarily, but about how you exert influence in other people's behavior and yourself. You will notice that different to a lot of the traditional leadership definitions, this directly involves other people and interacting with them. And we highlight this by the outcomes, which are known as DAC. I'll go one by one. The D for direction. A shared understanding of a common goal or strategy. So, if you are able to guide people into a single direction to understand a common goal and strategy, that's the first step in influencing. The second one, the A, is alignment. Once you have that direction, you need to make sure that the different resources and activities and processes begin to converge and are aligned towards that direction. And finally, the C, commitment, is to ensure that in that process, the commitment to collective success, what you've discussed and defined with others, is greater than the individual gain. When you have direction, alignment, commitment, or DAC, then you have leadership. You have leadership moments because you have influence or others have influenced the surroundings and the context sufficiently to create change. So this is our working definition for leadership. Might be a little bit different from what you're used to, but keep it in the back of your mind as we go through these modules. One key aspect about leadership development is the 70-20-10 rule. Now, what does this say? If you want to develop your leadership, there are 3 main categories in which you can do so. What we're doing now, formal instruction, is only 10%. Only 10%. 20% of that is from other people. And your interaction with other people can be through coaching and mentoring, through your family, through your employees, through your employer, through your peers. But the key aspect is that they have to be giving you feedback. You need to be asking feedback from them on how your leadership aspects that you're trying to develop are changing. 70%, that is the bulk of your leadership development, happens on what is called on-the-job learning. These are challenging, active projects, activities, programs that you undertake to develop your leadership. So a lot of this module is structured in a way that you will do quite a bit of experiential learning, interactive on-the-job experiences, as this is the way leadership is developed. As such, I would like to suggest the following. Approach this module as a laboratory for your personal development. There's no right or wrong. There's only trials of what works and what doesn't. And what works is what will give you an opportunity to build what we call a leadership toolkit. That is, a set of tools which you can call upon in moments when you need leadership that you can implement to create the positive change that you want. So there's a lot of big concepts right now, perhaps. So I'd like to take some time to ground these a little bit. You will now see this video on everyday leadership by Drew Dudley. And while you're watching it, I'd like to encourage you to answer the following question. What is the problem with leadership, according to Drew Dudley? take a look at the video, and I'll see you when you're back. So, did you see how the issues of seeing leadership as something greater than ourselves can stop us from actually doing the leadership that might matter? The minimal, everyday things that change people's lives? Consider that for this next exercise. Your next exercise will be filling out individually your me in my MSc or future vision statement. And this is a statement that is personal. It's for you to reflect and plan on what you plan to do and achieve during your educational program. You can use it again afterwards when you graduate. Be honest, be bold, and make sure that when you finish, you send a copy of it to your course coordinator if he has requested or she has requested for it to support you in this process. Take the time to do this and come back for a wrap-up. So, here you see some of the key takeaway points from this lecture. If you feel the need to review them, make sure you see the video again. I want to thank you very much for attending this first lecture, and I look forward to seeing you in the following ones.